Cultures in Harmony, I should say, is the non-profit organization I founded and direct, and I founded it in 2005. And it was a response to the tragedy of September 11th, because I felt that the main lesson of that tragedy was that Americans can no longer afford to ignore our relationships with the rest of the world. The past doesn't have to determine our relationship, that individual Pakistanis and Americans can and should form the bonds of friendship and of understanding. I think I'm probably going to, on my tombstone it will say arranger of the Pakistani national anthem, because just the response to that in proportion to everything else has been gratifying and surprising. People, I think, appreciate the gesture that it's these four Americans coming here at a time when the American media portrays going to Pakistan as having a death wish.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward. The United States will hunt down and punish those responsible.
It's because of the unique position that the U.S. found itself in after 9/11, where we had this enormous goodwill that we then squandered, and now we're at this point where the level of hatred directed towards our country is at unprecedented levels, and one election only does so much to change that. I was a freshman at the Juilliard School on 9/11, and those events totally changed my life, because previously I was going to be a conventional classical musician. After the tragedy happened, I wondered, well, what could I possibly do as a musician to help? And so about 5 days later, I went to perform for some soldiers as they were coming back from working at Ground Zero. And just seeing how grateful they were and the impact that my playing had on them made me realize that music has this tremendous power to transform society, a power that is too seldom explored because music gets confined to the concert hall. One of the challenges whenever Western and Eastern musicians collaborate is the West's obsession with logical structures, or structures that seem logical, given the strictures of our thinking.
What is the next part?
Is it down there, or are you making
that? It's a bit faster. What is the beat that it should feel like? How fast? You were saying that part is 2 times the first part.
When Waqas repeats a section and I ask what comes before it, or how we transition from that section to the next, he looks at me quizzically. This need, this thirst to know that you are currently 37% through playing the notes of a composition and 42% finished learning it, with 77 seconds left in the piece and 62 minutes left in the rehearsal. This is alien to him. And really, what is he missing? Do you jump to the second section?
तकरीबन 200 साल से हमारे घर में ये काम होता आ रहा है। मेरे दादा, उनके वालिद साहब तो मतलब पिछली 7 पीढ़ियाँ पीछे चले जाएँ, जब से सितार और आज तक मैं हूँ। रिहर्सल्स का टाइम भी हमें बहुत कम मिला। पहले दिन तो हम उनसे सिर्फ 2 घंटे 3 घंटे के लिए मिले थे, उसमें थोड़ी सी देर सिर्फ बैठना ही हुआ था। मेरे ख्याल रिहर्सल भी नहीं हुई थी, ऐसे सिर्फ अपने अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट खोल के दिखाने थे कि मैं ये बजाता हूँ, वो ये करती हैं। जब सेकंड डे हमें पूरा दिन मिला था, वो पूरे दिन में भी मतलब पूरा दिन जो हमें जितना टाइम कहा था उससे भी कम था। काम के हवाले से उनका वेस्टर्न म्यूज़िक है, तो उसमें मैं क्या कह सकता हूँ कि उनका बिल्कुल एक अलग उनका स्टाइल है बजाने का, एक अलग फ्लेवर है उनके म्यूज़िक का। तो वो तो मैं उसको ना कोई ऐसी हमें सीखने को मिला कोई ऐसी बात उनसे। बहरहाल मैंने उन्हें हमारा म्यूज़िक सिखाने की बड़ी कोशिश की थी, जिसमें मैंने उन्हें राग एमन की एक गत छोटी सी मैंने बताई। सब लोगों ने उसमें इम्प्रोवाइजिंग थोड़ी थोड़ी की उसमें अपने 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 तरीके से। वो इम्प्रोवाइजिंग जब हम लोग कर रहे थे तो फिर उसमें जब 3 ताल की जो लय को चौथी लय पे बढ़ा लेना, जब इतनी लय चढ़ गई तो वो कह रहे यार इसको हम एंड कैसे करेंगे, इसका कोई एंडिंग का तरीका बताएं। तो फिर मेरी कोशिश ये होती थी कि मैं जो भी कुछ करूं तो वो इस किस्म का हो कि वो लोग भी कर लें। तो इम्प्रोवाइज जब कर रहे होते थे तो उस वक्त वो काफ़ी मुझे इशारा कर रहे थे, यार तुम बजा लो, बस मैं नहीं बजा रहा, ये नहीं बजेगा मुझसे। जैसे 1-2 लोग थे जिसमें क्रिस जो थे वो थे और एमएलई थी, वो मुझे इशारा करती थी कि बस रहने दो, हम नहीं कर रहे, आप खुद ही बजाएं। उसकी एंडिंग के लिए हम जिसको तिहाई कहते हैं, मैंने वो तिहाई जो बजाई, तो फिर उन लोगों ने, मैंने जब फर्स्ट टाइम मैंने वो अकेले बजाई तो उन्होंने कहा कि भाई हमें भी बताएं, फिर साथ ही जब बजा रहे तो फिर इसको हम साथ ही एंडिंग करनी चाहिए। मैंने बोला बिल्कुल ये अच्छा आइडिया और साथ ही होना चाहिए जब बिल्कुल साथ। तो फिर मैंने उनको वो तिहाई जो थी वो मैंने उन्हें बताई कि ये इस तरीके से इसको इस तरीके से इसको ख़त्म करना है। मैं जो उनके बारे में सोचा था कि ये लोग थोड़े से प्राउड ही हैं या पाकिस्तानियों को थोड़ी सी हिकारत की नज़र से देखते हैं, ये चीज़ भी थोड़ी सी हमें फील हुई थी शुरू में। विलियम साहब वो क्योंकि वो ओनर थे, वो अपना ज़रा एक साइड में ही रहना और ये वो, लेकिन उन्होंने भी अच्छा एक रिस्पॉन्स दिया फिर एंड में।
It's hard to be the director of Cultures in Harmony because invariably the response I get whenever I meet my main contact in a country, and also the same with my colleagues, is, oh, I thought you'd be much older. That issue of needing to, I guess, get the respect due to someone who runs an international NGO. So it's hard to manage that balance between artistically, you want it to be a democracy with the other people that go on the project, but then logistically, I do have to be in charge.
Listen, because you're going to have to be the leader after, so they get the concept.
I can be viewed, I think, as extremely stubborn. In fact, yeah, I think that's one of my character flaws. But because my tendency is to push things through. I think these trips have taught me to be more flexible, but the room for improvement is fairly large.
What's evolved for me is that it's been fantastic to get to know Lena and Waqas more, because as I get to sort of be able to start understanding where they're coming from, not just musically, but as people too, I think we can start actually learning how we can integrate their ideas as much as possible. The real stuff almost happens when they start talking afterwards. That's when the real information comes. Like, music can be a common language and can open up spaces of understanding, but I usually think of music as sort of like the front door. Like, it can open up a room for understanding and can get sort of like a feeling of belonging happening, but then like becomes the really crucial work of like actually talking, having the conversation, having the dialogue, gets to the real stuff, and starts to actually try to see from the other person's perspective.